Hello, welcome back to doing another Bart Things, and today I thought I would do a video of your top disappointments of 2023. These are, I'm not mad, I'm just disappointed. Um, and we'll kick it off, so we'll just jump right in. Number one, I think the thing I'm just kind of the most disappointed about, honestly, is just GPUs in general. Prices have been ridiculous all year. They've gotten lower and better and then more expensive. And NVIDIA and AMD have been playing this kind of game of let's see how much margin we can get. Um, we still have, here it is, what is it? December 24th. RTX 4080s are still 1100 and whatever bucks. Um, it's kind of silly, honestly. And that's been one of the most disappointing things. Um, there are good cards out there. Um, it's the performance of these cards really hasn't been that bad. Like I haven't been down on the performance of the 4080, although it has been one of those things that has not compelled me to actually upgrade to a say, uh, you know, 4080 or something else. Um, and a lot of that again is just down to the price. I've maintained from Nvidia's lineup, and I'll get to AMD's stuff in a minute. But AMD's lineup, the price has been ridiculous. The 4090 notwithstanding, I sort of ignore it because it's sort of the outlier in performance as well. But the 4080 is just, it's super overpriced and it's just bad all the way down the line after the 4080. So that's that's just been very disappointing. Now on AMD's side, they've overpriced the 7900 XTX in my opinion because they can get away with it. The market, the, they basically have a card that on average beats the 4080 in a lot of things. Um, Raw numbers, right? Not talking about a specific gaming situation, um, for less money. So they just keep charging what they're charging, and their drivers have kind of come around. Things have come full circle, and I think the 7900 XTX is a pretty competent card now. Sales have been really good towards the end of the year because it is cheaper than this card. Um, but it's still really expensive. $1,000 video card is just a lot. So I think for that range of performance, where it's like more of a generational upgrade, it's not a revolutionary kind of deal. It's barely a generation. 20 or 30% is sort of like eh. Because remember, when we're talking a game that's running what 50 frames per second, what's 20%? Like 10 frames? Maybe 50 gets you to 60. Maybe that's an important thing. Maybe 60 gets you to 70, that kind of thing. But that's not a ton of difference. And whereas that would be a ton of difference, would be as if we're talking like 500 frames per second, but then it doesn't really matter, does it? Because that's live frames per second. So it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of weird. You have to watch out for the percentages and realize what the actual number behind those percentages mean and are. And in my 2 cents is just all these cards have been overpriced, and we've really been taking a bath in it this whole year. Hopeful for next year, there's going to be some more competition um, in the mid-range area, which is really where I think majority of people are going to buy anyway and should. Um, Value per dollar. So GPU market 2023 was not really, I think, a great year. Again, not mad, just disappointed. Moving along, Intel 14th gen. Um, Now, specifically the 14900K. I had a personal experience with the 14900K. I know here you see it's like 5 stars, like it's really good. Well, Bart, it's really good. Why would you be disappointed? Here's why I'm disappointed. Man, all right. I personally hate it when I buy a PC part that I cannot extract everything that everything that it should give me. Um, and what I mean by that is, I'm not even talking about overclock performance, really. I'm talking about the power usage of this 14900K. Um, This thing is ridiculous. It is just, um, there is no cooler that you can really buy as its own thing that will truly keep the taps off this thing on this thing if you open it up all the way. 355 watts of output is too much. No matter what you put on it, if you game on it long enough with it unlocked completely, it will eventually go to 100 degrees Celsius and it will thermal throttle itself. It doesn't matter what you put on it practically. Um, and I find that just crazy. I do. It's like it's just putting the biggest engine you can find in your car. You know, it's not the daily driver. That's what I'm saying. It's not something you want to drive over to grandma's house and turn everybody's car alarms on from the exhaust note. Like that's what this is. Is it fun? Sure. I don't have the time to build a custom water loop or the money in order to extract that out of it. So what you're forced to do is you have to limit it to 250 watts or 300 watts, something in that nature, right? In order to live with it. And that just drives me a little crazy because I paid the money to have this and I want to have all of it, and I want to be able to use it. Um, for me, um, I just wouldn't recommend this processor for anybody except those who are just looking for the most, you know, insane bleeding edge, or like maybe not bleeding edge, but just you're going to have a crazy cooling component to this. Now, if you want to dial it back and live with it at that reduced wattage, and we're talking 360 millimeter AIOs, you have to stop it at 250 watts because it'll just keep going. Like it is it is burly. It is really burly in the amount of heat that it puts out. And I'm not a big fan of the E-cores. I really don't think they do anything. I think they just generate more heat. I think the performance cores are where it's at. I think you could probably disable. I should have tried this when I had it. I just didn't have time. I wanted to disable all the efficiency cores and just use the performance cores and see what the difference was. Because I think if they would have come out with a 16 core performance core version and gone ahead and include, with hyperthreading, right? I think it'd be great. I think it would have been awesome. Um, that's not what they did. They wanted that extreme core count without hyperthreading, and it makes sense. So hyperthreading is logical, like it's not physical. So it basically allows one CPU to address two threads at once. That's always going to be a more robust task done by a physical processor that is two processors versus just one. So I get where they're coming from and what they were sort of trying to accomplish there. Um, but I think AMD's approach of actually having 16 performance cores and hyperthreading is still relevant and is still good. I don't think Windows is ready for this yet. Now, AMD has also done some stuff that Windows is not ready for yet. But again, we'll get there. Um, so, yeah, it's just too much. 13600K, 14600K, 13700K, 14700K, probably better buys. You're not going to, in all likelihood, take a 14900K or 1300 900KS, 13900K. We could lump that in here as well. You're not going to take these CPUs, put them on even a 360 millimeter AIO. The only one that came close would come close maybe would be like the Arctic 360 that's 38 millimeters thick, and if you'd put better fans on it and do all the things, like you'd have to pull out all the stops, and you're probably going to be able to cool maybe 300 watts, 325 watts. And it's just dumping all that heat into your room in a gaming session. As you're just gaming. It's not necessary, and it's kind of weird. Um, and I defy the logic of, well, this is the do it all processor. Man, I don't know. Like I think I could take this 7800 X3D I've got and probably stream and game on at the same time. You know, there'd be a sacrifice. I probably would dip more frames per second than maybe somebody using this setup. I think everybody's just whining about stuff now. Like, I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Um, but it is ridiculous trying to cool this. It really is. And I think that's just something that was a little bit disappointing. But I think that it's a great processor. Like, it's very powerful. Just it's something to keep in mind if you go that route. Be aware that maybe a 14700K might be a better deal for you because they take off some of those efficiency cores. That might be easier to cool. And let's face it, on a cooler that you can afford and buy and not a custom water loop, you're going to get 5.9 gigahertz to 6 gigahertz. That's it. Maybe. Maybe. And it's going to heat up over time. And if you game for more than 30 minutes to an hour, you know, that heat is going to just build and build and build and, you know, cause that. So, and again, gaming is different than benchmarking. You know, if you benchmark for a really long time, that'd be one thing. But I do think it just runs hotter. It's more to cool. Yeah, I think the 700s and 600 series are probably better chips for the average person, and they're cheaper. And yeah, so this product was just a little bit weird to me. Anyway, another one that was weird: 7900 and 7950 X3Ds. Okay, here's the deal: two CCDs, one has Vcache, one doesn't. Right? There's a lot of things you have to do to make that work correctly, and my conclusion was it probably is not worth the hassle for the performance. I think the 7800 X3D was a better deal. I bought one eventually after playing around with the 14900K and decided I just didn't want to deal with that heat. I honestly thought about the 7950X, the non-X3D version. That's a good chip. I mean, the 14900K is also a good chip. Don't get me wrong. It's just, again, all the heat. I, I it's I hate disabling stuff that I paid for. That's the whole rub. Okay, it's not that this is bad. It's that I didn't want to disable cores or underclock or undervolt or do all that stuff for the things that I paid for. I wanted it to all be there. That's what it was. This costed money, and I wanted it to all be there. That was the deal. Okay, so I'm not. It's not bad. I'm just disappointed. Um, Same thing with this. Like if you want to get the max out of this, you have to go through a bunch of hoops with Microsoft. Basically, the Windows, you have to get the Xbox, I think, Game Bar to limit the. Is he in the background paying us a visit? You have to limit the um, basically way that it tries to get the cores. If you want a game and get the most performance, you have to shift the games onto the cores that are using the Vcache, which can be interesting and requires software updates and a lot of the Xbox Game Bar. And ultimately, I was like, I don't think this is, I mean, I would play with it and try to figure it out, but I don't think this is really where it's at. Another option is you can underclock the non-Vcache cores to a lower frequency than what the Vcache cores run, and then that would Windows would recognize the Vcache cores as the faster cores, and it would move whatever over there on its own accord, so to speak. Um, but that's also kind of one of those things where, okay, I'm robbing Peter to pay Paul, like I'm lowering clocks over here to get things to move over there. So that was another thing that I was like, that's kind of disappointing. I thought that would be a thing to bring up in this video. Doesn't mean it's a bad processor. It's a good processor, just like the 14900K is. Um, but there's some caveats there. Some things are a little bit disappointing. All right, next, let's move into my wheelhouse of things that I hang my hat on a little bit or that I know about. Disappointing. Corsair 2000D. Why is it disappointing? Mainly because I thought, wow, that's cool. That's a mini ITX enclosure. That is neat. And then you look at it, and it's like Corsair did the cheap out thing again. They put real cheap, like weird filter on the back. Um, the rear of this chassis where the video card goes. And again, I get it. You know, they're making a mini ITX case, but they should have made it to where you could get bigger video cards in. And the reason is it's if you're going to make a chassis, in my opinion, that can house a 360 mil AIO or radiator, you should design it to fit a Strix 4890. Like it should be able to do that. And this case, I don't think can do that, but it can get that giant cooler for your CPU in. So why not the video card? And I was just a little bit. I thought that was kind of weird that was the case. There's some other weird kind of caveats to this case where they tried to make it sort of as small as they could, but then at the same time, so I ended up just kind of being a little bit like, on this one. Um, and yeah, I think that was interesting. So interesting case. The footprint is pretty cool. Like the amount of space it would take up on your desk, you could get a lot of things around it. I think, which is one of the objectives of it, right? Let's be real. But yeah, I don't know. Like I didn't overall the design just didn't really appeal to me um, from that standpoint because I felt like you should have the option of putting as big a GPU as you can fit in there when you can fit a 360 mil AIO. Just it doesn't make any sense to me. Um, you can fit a 4090 in it, but it has to be one that is um, the right size, which basically means you can fit the Founders one in, is basically it. And as we know, you can't get a hold of the Founders 4090s anymore, or 4080s, really, I don't think. So there's that. Um, yeah, 3-slot GPU, so no 4 slotters. Anyway, 3000D, also from Corsair. So I'm dinging Corsair twice on this one. Uh, I don't like this case because they came out of this case to preserve the price of the 4000D, in my opinion. And I think that's kind of dumb. I would buy a 4000D over this pretty much every day. Um, the 3000D is cool, but it's kind of like a weird. We're going to do this to just have a case that's a little bit cheaper than the 4000D. I think it's maybe mainly made for integrators. I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, I don't know. Like this case serves no purpose. I would be interested to see if somebody bought this over a 4000D, what their experience was like. But it looks like to me they just threw this out there and didn't really give it a whole lot of thought. I kind of want to see Corsair again. I did a video of um, cases that I would like to see brought back. The 4000D is really the closest thing to that 350D that I talked about in that video, and it's a really solid case. I actually considered it. One thing that really turned me off to it is um, the tinted glass, which I ended up getting a case of tinted glass, funny enough. But I think my case probably looks better. It's the Fractal North, which I like the wood on the front. But the deal with this case is I don't think there's any fan mounts on the PSU shroud, which would have been a benefit for this case being kind of like a budget entry level case to get some more cooling. And that tinted glass, they need to just forget about tinted glass. If they're going to put glass in the side of a case, the whole point of the glass inside the case is so you can see in the case. I'm tired of these dark tinted, you can barely see anything kind of cases. I get it, but at the same time, it's like, come on, man. So that was one reason why I didn't get it. But for 79 bucks here, though, that's a good deal. I'll be interested to see what Corsair sort of does next. This has been a really great case. A lot of people have bought in it and enjoyed it. The 3000D, I just think they threw that out there to try to preserve that price point on the 4000D. And so I think that's why this is a bad product, because I would pay 10 more bucks and just get the 4000D all day. Even though it's supposed to be a $100 case, but for $100, there's a case that's way better. It's a Lee & Lee 216 all day long. Okay, last disappointment. So this is a good case. This is a cool case. It's called the APNX C1. There is a color called Chromaflair that is not available. So they had this color go out to review sites. There must have been 3 of them that they provided. They sold out in 20 days or less and never been seen from again. So APNX, like, you had a hit on your hands. Congratulations. Now maybe actually make a few more of the cool ones and send them out. I would have considered that because that color was cool. I even considered kind of a black one, but I want something a little bit smaller. Really cool case. Just I'm disappointed. Like, why would you? Why would you not make more of the one that has the cool color? I don't understand. Why would you? You know, why would you not realize that we've got this really cool, unique color that isn't on a lot of cases? We have a cool case here. Why would we not have more of these to sell? It doesn't make any sense. Also, not pleased with the price of this case. I think this should be a cheaper case. 169, I think it was, for the Chromaflair version. 149 for just the pure black. Kind of on the pricey side. Again, go look and see Lee & Lee 216. That's what you're competing against. Much, cheaper by about 40 bucks. And the airflow in that case is absolutely top of the line. Like, you can't really do better. So anyway, there you are, man. There's your 2023 top. I'm not mad, just disappointed products. If you guys would like, leave a like and subscribe. And I hope you liked my incredibly lower in production. If you have any comments, let me know. Thank you guys. Have a good one. I hope everybody enjoys their Christmas and gets a lot of presents. And we'll be seeing you in the next one.